Ducktales, 20 years later, episode 16. The chair he finally crashed in the night before dawn just began to peek on the horizon. Seemed much more comfortable than it actually was, as Doofus, the bits of armor lying around him, began to wake. Hurrying to her in the small room in front of the desk model planes, boats creaked as his bulk turned, back beginning to protest the treatment. Suddenly, the alarm built into the headpiece of the armor, laying out on the unused bed, fired off its horrible noise. Doofus, used to his rigid schedule, immediately stood, trying to trick himself into believing he was wide awake. Leaning over his desk, looked out the window of the tiny apartment. Duckburg's skyline, at least a couple of inches that he could see over the brick wall facing his window, answered him back. Still sleeping in the dusty dawn air, as many times as he went up to St. Canard and lying cities, Gizmo Duck would always have a soft spot for Duckburg before the 9 to 5 crowd appeared to clog its streets. A hollow ringing noise interrupted his viewing, and he dug through the large pile of armor for the forearm piece, which was vibrating and making a passive noise. With a clumsy grace unused to the natural strength of his body, he manipulated the fingers of the armored hand into a phone position, pulled an antenna through the thumb, before placing it to his ear and putting on his hero voice.
Yes? There is an altercation downtown. Please quell it.
Mr. Cruxell, he said, voice slipping. What? It was too late. His mentor, Fenton Crackshell, had hung up. Doofus sighed. He was bound to following him, desperate to the depth of saving his life all those years ago. But lately, something must have happened within the past few years. No matter, however. Doofus's petty quibbles were not needed anymore. Gizmo Duck had to be in charge now. He stood in the center of the room, making sure none of his furniture was in the way of his inert armor. Blatherskite! In the aftermath of the siege of Duckburg, the town had bounced back admirably, even as the surrounding towns and cities locked down their borders and tightened their laws to prevent the same thing happening to them. Duckburg flourished, used to and nostalgic for such a disaster as part and parcel for living in the shadow of the giant cube of money in the center of town near its history. Nearby, St. Canard had not been so lucky. Alarmists and opportunists had pounced upon the disaster of its sister city, and used it as a springboard for political and ideological gain. One of the larger proponents of the stricter laws was the hero residing in Duckburg, Gizmo Duck, who became attached to a bit of folk knowledge that a hero associated with the hated Dewey Duck, a relatively new cape named the Green Phantom, had been orchestrating the force behind the scenes on Dewey's orders. Gizmo had never even hinted at this little fun fact, but nevertheless, it was often attributed to him. St. Canard let down further and further. The heroes within were treated with more and more contempt and suspicion. The people and politicians turned to Fairy Kagan as a private bodyguard. How much sense did it make for a hero living in Kalalusta to be the bodyguard for a man living in Bombay, India, as the last trustworthy man to keep a mass crowd? He was asked to head up several groups, charities, and rallies, meant to pass a bit of legislation limiting the freedom of the vigilante set. Too long, they would say. We've just let anyone take up the mantle for our protection when we should have been more concerning. The disaster in Duckburg is an object lesson in this fact. In a whirlwind of political, the bill was passed in state Congress, and just like that, licensed vigilantism was prohibited within the state of Kalalusta. Of course, not all heroes went quietly into the night, never to be seen again. Some heroes were like the Green Phantom, or Darkwing, or Gizmo Duck, mere mortals putting up a mask or a suit, and vowed to protect the world any way they could, out of some feeling of need or guilt or duty. Some heroes, however, had no choice. When St. Canard was essentially locked down to superpowered activity, several of the former good guys fled the town altogether, heading for other cities where their powers and freedoms would be respected. Duckburg was a frequent stop on this mass pilgrimage of costumless vigilante, and in particular, the League of Mutants. And if you recognize that name, congratulations, you are a huge CW fan. Sirens pierced the air as the spinning lights cast everything in tones of red and blue. Police cars and vans were set in a wagon train, surrounding four figures standing back to back to back. At the head of the group and ultimately controlled them was an AZ rooster in a black and blue costume. He had a long, thin body that appeared to wobble with every slight move he made, Surrounding them were three others, mere babes compared to their venerable leader. They were mutants, exposed to certain stimuli in the womb and born with extraordinary powers.
Our special orders,
Said a voice within a megaphone, coming from Captain O'Hara, at the head of the SWAT team, ready to jump in at the moment's notice.
You are under arrest for practicing vigilante justice within the state of Canada Nostra. Please give yourself up without a fight. Throw down your weapons and masks and come with us. You do not fight. Perhaps you may register yourselves with the city of Bergen. Register? Pah!
Yelled one of the young mutants. He was a cat, barely a teenager, with a fire in his eyes and a revolutionary spirit in his voice. His costume consisted of a blue jumpsuit and a pair of paw-print boxer shorts on his head, with two eye holes cut so he could see.
Reveal our real names to the public. A mask and live in fear for our friends and families. Never.
A girl duck, just a little older than her unpantsed ally, stood by, trying to calm him down. She did not look kindly upon Captain O'Hara's team, however. She wore a more subdued outfit, in earth tones, and a billowing brown cape. Over her eyes she wore a domino mask, turned up at either end in sharp points that extended out like a pair of cat's eye glasses. At her side, trying to best to hide behind the duck girl's cape, stood a terrier about the same age, slightly shorter. His clothes were plain, a simple jacket, pants, and a bowler hat, but with a running watch built into his hat. The rooster at the lead held up his arm.
Rooster, lads!
Rubber chicken, said the duck.
We're trapped. There's many people, and there's police. We can't hurt the police, can we?
If they stay in our way, I say give it a shot,
said the one called Wedge. The terrier and duck looked towards their leader for advice, as Wedge stood ready to attack at a moment's notice like a loaded gun. The rooster crossed his probable arms for a moment before he began to speak.
Wedge may be right,
the dog spoke up, but RC!
You'll have to suck a supply.
Each of the young mutants in turn looked towards their mentor and leader. Rubber Chicken, victim of his father's accidental dip in a molten rubber bath just before his conception. After a moment, O'Hara counted down the seconds on his watch. The rooster let his hardened gaze rise up.
Now come.
Attack!
Here comes O'Hara, signaling vans to open up, spilling forth as the armored civilian army has command. Each man was dressed in Kevlar and visored helmet, wielding a police baton and plexiglass shield.
I say, now!
He yelled to Rubber Chicken. Jumping at the call to action, the duck hopped forward, breathing in deep. Her chest expanded greatly to accommodate all the excess air she took in, until her ribcage had grown impossibly large. As the approaching wall of men approached the duck, holding her breath on all sides, she waved her arms to her companions, giving the signal. The three of them threw themselves to the ground quickly, and the duck let her breath go. It wasn't air anymore, but could be described more like dust or sand, as kicked up as a car drives by on a dry day. It was sent towards your eyes as the bully kicks his sandcastle in your direction. The dusty air was expelled from her lungs, seemingly secreted from her own body. The wind, now with a mind of its own, began to home in on the invisible men in the lineup. Between gaps and visors and helmets and individual grains of dust flew, undeterrently, finding sensitive eyes to irritate. The uncanny power to breathe out eye-homing sand was an amazing forte of the dusty duck. The Wendy Wonder, whose fate was decided when her mother, a chemist at a cat litter factory, caught the experimental grits in her eyes while pregnant with her daughter. Under her powers, also the encroaching men paused, grunting, trying to blink away the irritation of sand in her eyes, never causing the ever-closing circle of humanity to stall for just a moment. A moment was all that was needed. Wes was off like a shot. The cat's tail gave a crack as he jumped towards the armored bodies, still rubbing and blinking back their sandy eyes. He pointed his arms towards them, and as if in a wave, gave each man a yelp as there came a tightness in his drawers. The Wes could have been a normal boy, had it not been for his father, an inspector at an underwear factory, as began to use a new type of stitching process without telling the workers. Finding himself suddenly sewn permanently into a pair of briefs, the inspector soon conceived a son, who had the amazing power of telekinesis over underwear, which he used to violently fight crime after his parents were murdered by his eyes in an alley. The men screamed as their nether regions were assaulted by the ever-tightening shorts they wore, thick Kevlar trousers and body armor useless to protect them from their own clothes. Several of the weaker men fell to the ground, already drained from the assault on their most sensitive parts. However, many still came, the few commandos among them holding their line as downed allies writhed in pain. Suddenly, Long Arm shot off in the center of the circle. Rubber Chicken struts, the former really long arm of the law, extended out to wrap around the group, tangling up in a net of rubber limbs. As the Rubber Chicken stood his ground, cleaning up the man Dusty Duck and the Wedge could not deal with. He turned to the last group, however. The terrier was looking a little sheepish as he held the collecting bullet in his head. "What time is it?" asked the Rubber Chicken. 9:45 a.m. in 5 seconds Duckburg Standard Time. Now, we've been running for 10 hours. The nice policeman actually gave us 43 seconds before you attacked. It took you fellas 18 seconds to fight off the SWAT team. It's a Tuesday.
Thank you, Watchdog.
Yes! Watchdog! Son of a clockmaker who was exposed to strange radioactive quartz. He now has the unbeatable ability to know exactly what time, wherever he is, whenever he is. Don't knock it too hard. We can't all have good superpowers.
"We're winning, fellas!"
yelled Dusty as he prepared to breathe in again.
"Keep it up!"
"If we could just make it out of the city limits," said Rubber Chicken.
"No! We stay and fight the bastards!" screamed Rez as he raised his arms, pulling a pair of briefs over his colon. "Does you understand? If we run now, we'll be running forever. Even so, there is no more even so, Chicken. This is it. We go down fighting." There was nothing more to be said. The unending stream of riot police swarmed in, only to be taken out by the teamwork of the 4 millions. However, eventually, painfully, inevitably, the heroes were worn down to the nub as the last wave approached, climbing on the backs of their comrades. "They've taken off their underwear!" yelled Weds as he flailed ineffectively towards the approaching guard. "I can't affect them!"
"And he started wearing goggles. I can't get anything in their eyes."
"It is 2 minutes to 10 o'clock.
"I hear you guys! Stand back!" yelled the older man as he jumped into the air on spring legs, expanded his body suddenly, becoming a wide red sheet, falling over the group of policemen, trapping them in himself. With a few well-controlled manipulations of the body, the entire group was crushed. Not enough to kill, but hard enough to be knocked out and hurting for a while. The Rubber Chicken soon shrank back to its normal size. "Did we win?" asked the West. "Did we get him?" There was a moment of silence as the 4 mutants were surrounded on all sides by writhing, or in some cases, unmoving bodies of the riot police, with Captain O'Hara standing by, megaphone in hand, trying to bite dust out of his eye. Dusty Duck gave a yell of triumph.
"We did it!"
"Not yet,"
called the Rubber Chicken, pointing his hand towards the sky.
"We got company."
The hum of a single propeller gave the 4 a chill of dread. "Gizmo Duck! Stop! You 4 are under citizen's arrest for unregistered vigilantism, insulting an officer. All of the officers! You'll never take us alive!" railed the Weds against the Mel Duck, shining in the morning sunlight. Raised his hands high up, screaming as he took hold of the approaching underwear in his mind. However, a horror second. There was a look of pain in his face as his arms began to wobble. "No! It can't be! My one weakness!" He fell backwards, holding his head in his hands, deliberated by the piercing feeling in his mind. "I knew I picked a good day to wear my boxer briefs!" said Gizmo Ducks. The Wedge was a puddle on the floor. Are they boxers? Or are they briefs? I can't believe I just read that line. You know, we were doing good, all the seriousness, all the coolness, all the really good character bits, and then we get to this! Long arm, followed by a dusty wind, flew up towards Gizmo Duck. The wind outraced by the strings in the hand, only to beat helplessly against the Mel Duck's tight visor. The hand had more luck, wrapping around the hero's hanging wheel and pulling sharply, sending Gizmo Duck down to the ground with a crash.
"Stand back, Dusty. This is my fight,"
said the Rubber Chicken, trembling a bit, but staying firm, having no room for his former cowardice on the battlefield while his students, the outcast dregs of a society that wouldn't accept him, needed his guidance. If he loses here, these poor kids had no guidance. Might as well send the rage-fused villains in training overseas to foul right now and get it over with.
Be careful, Rubber Chicken,"
said Dusty, heavy watchdog dragged the strained Reds away from the fight. Gizmo Duck rose from the dust cloud that had been kicked up by the slam in the ground and stood, still shining. The 2 heroes faced each other down. On one side the light of Duckburg, the unspeakable paragon of order and justice, Gizmo Duck. On the other side, a scrappy sea lizard with kids in tow who had been kicked out of St. Canard by a law that repressed his kind. Mutant kind. And ideological loggerheads, these two heroes drew their lines in the sand and prepared themselves. They screamed as they raced towards each other, the wildly, artlessly flailing arms of the rubber chicken beating and grappling the robotic duck to the ground, using his pliability and vulnerability to make up for what he lacked in sheer strength. However, his lack of mastery over his powers proved to be his downfall. Using his gift of speed, not strength, Gizmoduck was able to duck around the flailing arms and legs going through them, leading them into knots and loops that would take a moment to untangle. After a few moments, he succeeded in creating a tumble out of the chicken, while he tried to recover, fired a net out his chest coated with a piece of Hudson's. The gooey netting struck fast in the mutant, rendering him immobile. As the master struggled to untangle himself while stuck to a net, Dusty Duck had a foresight to begin to retreat. Wordlessly, he indicated for Watchdog to run, and he soon disappeared down an alley, ripping off his mask and hat to take refuge in his secret identity. Dusty took the still weakened Wes by the shoulder, trying to help him limp away as their master kept Gizmoduck busy. However, having dispatched the rubber chicken, Gizmoduck was able to move on, moving towards the two fleeing mutants quickly.
Come on, Wedge! Get up! You gotta move!
She grunted, bearing the weight of her ally with her whole body.
Go!
No use. His mind had been blown by the presence of boxer briefs, and not be back in sleep until he had time to recover. As he looked back, seeing the unicycled hero approaching rapidly, she screamed uncaring curses at her ally to move, but collapsed under his dead weight. Rolling out from under the wedge, Dusty Duck turned her head and saw Gizmoduck standing over her, placed a pair of heavy handcuffs over the two of them, connecting them to each other.
You have a right to remain silent. Anything you can say will be used against you in the court of law. You have the right to an attorney. You do not have an attorney. One will be provided to you by the state of Callista.
Please?
Come with me, please.
Step away from the girl, Gizmo, yelled a voice from behind. Gizmoduck turned quickly, recognizing the voice. He fired a rocket out of a launcher that popped out his back, was screamed towards his target. A certain flash of green costume, the rocket pierced through the fabric, burning a hole clean through. Too late, he realized what he thought was the Green Phantom was merely a sheet in the hero's chosen color billowing through the air. A heavy impact on his back, however, suddenly, Huey Duck was clinging to him, tearing at his exposed beak and neck of his hands. As he raised his arms to try and pry the red-clad duck off of him, he heard a gunshot, followed by a pop, and his tire was flat.
Now, Louie!
Yelled the voice of his quarry, before he noticed that he was up on the second floor of a building. He looked around for a green-clad hero, but was too late. Huey jumped from the back of the duck of steel, just before a rope lasso clasped around his exposed neck. With a deft tug, Gizmoduck was on his back, unable to get the traction required to stand on his flat tire, with his windpipe only partially open. He saw Louie hobble out of the alley, fully costumed but for lack of his destroyed mask, and in places, the form-hugging costume was lumpy from the bandages.
Did we kill him? Don't relax yet, said Huey,
Voiced a smile.
Gyro Kilu's invented that thing. It can do anything. You too,
yelled Louie as he approached the two mutants. He knelt painfully as he pulled a simple hairpin from his utility belt, foregoing the $700 lock-picking system that he never took out of the little box, and undisciplined their shackles.
Run. Don't stop until you hit the state line. We'll send Rubber Chicken after you.
Who are you?
Asked Dusty.
No time. Just go!
And with that, Dusty was able to force her ally up, and some time to recover from the brief rampage. The two of them hobbled away from the scene of her fierce police brutality.
So, you got me back on my back now, villains,
said Gizmoduck, ripping the rope from his neck apart, allowing him to speak.
I never thought you would have the nerve to come back to Duckburg, do we, Duck? Captain O'Hara, place these men under arrest.
No voice answered him. The megaphone lay abandoned. Captain O'Hara had wisely gone for a backup.
We're gonna have to make this quick. You'll do nothing of the sort.
He pressed a button on his chest. Instantly, his tire began to spin. The old dead pieces flew off in all directions, and a new one seemed to grow in his place. The three boys drew back as Gizmoduck righted himself, reaching for one of his gizmos.
Manual override. User, crack shell, code word, bladder sky, armor off!
Yelled a voice. Instantly, the armor began to fall away from Gizmoduck, from the tire right up to the chest and arms. Eventually there he stood, stunned, squinting from the blindness caused by the loss of his vision-correcting helmet.
What?
He said as he looked around, the world in a blur. He raised his glasses, but found his arms caught in a crushing grip.
It really is Doofus,
said Huey as he held a large, blue-sweatered man by the arms, using the ample strength hidden in his smaller frame to subdue the physically weaker Doofus.
But how do you?
I'm sorry, Doofus, said a voice. The voice. It's over.
Mr. Crackshell.
He wanted to put on his glasses. Yes, Doofus, it's me.
But, Mr. Crackshell, I did everything you wanted me to. Where are you? Where are you working with these terrorists?
You're confused, Doofus. I've been away for a long time. Give me his glasses, Dewey. Dewey bent down and retrieved the specs from Doofus' front pocket. Suddenly, Doofus could see clearly. He saw standing before him Fenton Crackshell, wearing only a simple white shirt, standing above his feet.
You're walking.
Certain I be?
Mr. Crackshell was in an accident. He had to sit in a chair.
I'm right here, Doofus. Who are you?
You can't be Mr. Crackshell. He would never associate with terrorists. I've done everything he told me to. All the horrible, hunting down all those rogue heroes.
He began to struggle against Huey. Pure righteous fury struggling in his newfound strength.
Let go of me! Let go!
Dewey and Louie grabbed to grab hold, but Fenton saw just in time the glint in Doofus's eyes. He whipped his head around and throwing the glasses off his face. Maurice, get away from him! Huey let go just in time. Dewey and Louie were able to back away as Doofy called out,
Brother and brother skites!
The reactivated armor flew towards Doofus, creating a small tornado. And there stood Gizmo Duck. The Duck of Steel looked like he might stand a fight, but turned on his wheel and started away, rolling over the prone bodies of the SWAT team. He's getting away! I know exactly where he's going. We have time for one more thing, said Fenton, kneeling beside the bound rubber chicken, pulling out a Swiss armor knife. Sorry about that, chicken. I hope my student didn't hurt yours too bad. Chicken sighed as he eventually freed from the gooey, gradually hurrying threads of the net. Don't worry, I'm used to things like this by now. Down the trailer under Ma's elevator, past the trophy room into the main hall, Gizmo Duck rolled, before saying the code word, tearing his armor away from himself.
Mr. Crackshell, what have I told you? It's important. There's...
But to see a doubt enter Doofus' mind. What if... No. Impossible. It can't be.
There's another Fenton Crackshell and a Buster.
Fenton, sitting in his wheelchair before his large computer array, turned slowly towards Doofus.
Did you take care of him? I couldn't. He was with Dewey Duck and his brothers. I had to get away.
You have the suit. You couldn't hold off the three Duck brothers.
I'm sorry, but...
You useless brain-dead child. I should kick you on the street right now, after everything I've done for you.
No, Mr. Crackshell, please, give me another chance.
No more chances, Deuce.
Don't listen to her, Doofus! What?
Cried the wheelchair Fenton, his head perking up towards the entrance of the trophy room, where the unkempt Fenton stood, flanked by the three Duck brothers. Doofus, suit up and get them!
But...
He was too gone. Doofus, seeing two Fentons side by side, couldn't take the pressure and simply shut down.
Useless!
Said the wheelchair Fenton, reaching down into the cushion and pulling out an automatic pistol pointing towards Doofus. He pulled the trigger. With a bang, Doofus fell to the ground in a heap.
Doofus!
Cried the Fenton and Duck brothers, stepping towards the bleeding-out former junior woodchuck. The click of the gun stopped them.
Not another step,
said the voice of fake Fenton. It sounded more reptilian and feminine than before.
Or you'll join him.
I thought there was something phony about what the voice told me about Doofus. The sweet kid could never think of doing what he did.
Very good, Fenton Crackshell. But how do you intend to stop me?
He stood, lifting himself out of the chair effortlessly, letting a long, reptilian tail unfurl behind him.
What?
Said Louie. The false Fenton seemed to melt away, replaced by another duck entirely. One that was older and decidedly reptilian features.
Who are you?
Asked Huey. Chameleon, answered Fenton, arms crossed. An enemy from Dark Rings way back. I see you recovered from your stay in Bedlam.
Funny.
She began to touch herself.
Oh, it feels so good to get back in my body with my own voice. Keeping your form for so long was difficult, even with your genetic material keeping me along.
So that's why you needed me alive, said Fenton. You needed my blood so you could act like me and control poor Doofus.
Farron Kagan played very well for this gig, and hell if you're going to stop me.
She began to pull the trigger. A small sling flown from Louie's hands, knocking the bullet off course and the gun out of her hands.
What? Give up!
She looked around stunned.
or smiling. Of course not. I can defeat you with a taste of your own medicine. She began to yell. Blather, 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 skite! Cried Fenton before she could finish. The whirlwind surrounded him for a moment before Gizmo Duck was suddenly there. If you guys want to play some awesome instrumental music right about now, or some awesome heroic music, now would be a good time because this is too appropriate. Rolling quickly towards Camille. Now you're bothering with Gizmo. Gizmo Duck simply punched her in the chest, sending her flying backwards to her computer console. The three boys looked on in morbid fascination as the supervillain screamed, spark arguing around her body as he was fried by the electrical current, running through the powerful computer, causing her seat-sitting form to go wild. A large, burly man, a stool, a little girl, Dr. Duck the First, Fenton, Cracksail, Huey, Doofus, Fairy Kagan. Soon she was still, referring to her original form. The boys were silent for a while, before Gizmo Duck wordlessly picked up Doofus, looking at the misguided man.
He's still breathing. The bullet went through.
He smiled, trying to choke away the guilt.
It's a good thing she wasn't me. I'm a much better shot.
Yeah! That was probably the most awesome Gizmo Duck introduction in existence. That was badass. He's waking up, said a Crow's voice, a very familiar voice. Webby? Yes, Diffus, it's me. Diffus was lying, stretched out on the back of an airplane. The boys plane, Sea Duck, looked around, seeing everyone around him, calling, Mr. Craigshell, what happened?
We were being used, Doofus,
he said, sitting, holding his young protege's hand as he looked up at all the concerned faces weakly. Oh, Mr. Craigshell, I did some horrible things for that fake. I'm a disgrace. I don't deserve the title of Gizmo Duck.
Shh, my boy, you don't have to feel guilty. It wasn't your fault.
But sleep. Be quiet, insisted Webby. We'll talk more after you rest. She waved off all the concerned faces, leaving only Webby and his vision. Webby, it's been years since we... Yes, I know, Doofus. She laid a wet, cold compress on Plato's head. As she did this, she reached up with his hand, placing it over hers. Hey, can we see what happens when this is 2017, Webby? Oh, let me see the armor! This is all Dewey could stand to watch, before he drowned out the fresh memory of business. Fenton, now that we cleaned up your loose end, I'd like us to get down to business. Are you game?
Sure thing, boy,
he said, letting himself lean towards the binder. Ladies, the miracle juices flow after years of apathy. Fenton rubbed his hands together and took out the binder and pencil, going side by side, page by page, adding and subtracting and winding his way through a mathematical maze set up by Karen Fagan's best man.
This won't take me any time at all. Where to, Dewey?
Asked Huey. Dewey nodded, letting his resolve stealing his face, even as the memory of Doofus, stealing a test from Webby crowding in his mind.
Just Central Command, St. Canard.
Huey smiled. His injury, still aching, allowed him to get Zyro to be enough useful.
I can feel it. We're home free. This is it. We're flying with a stick to that bastard.
I hope you're right, Dewey, said Dewey as the Sea Duck flew onwards towards Audubon Bay and St. Canard. I feel like there should be some awesome rock music playing right now.